Hello everyone, I'm here today to give you an overview of my project, and my project is implementation of a bedside handoff for nurses. The goal and institution of the IPASS checklist tool, which is to standardize the way the nurses give handoff. So this particular project would increase patient safety and ensure and also include the patient in it, so also they could feel as a part of their own treatment process in the hospital setting. um, First of all, I just have a picture here so you could see the way bedside handoff was done in the past. You see two nurses at a nurse's station with a computer. So we want to move away from that process, and we want to bring the nurses to this process right here, which is two nurses giving report. Patient is involved, and also they have a computer in which they would be able to review the patient's information as they are giving report to each other. Some of the steps for this would be so the first step is that the nurse, in educating the nurses for this process that we're trying to implement, is they would watch a video on what the bedside shift report is and the importance of it, and along with the IPASS safety tool. So they would watch this video, and then at that point, after they watch the video and learn what IPASS stands for, I would then do a formative assessment to gauge their learning at that point. And just so I can kind of show you the IPASS tool, you can see it right here. What IPASS actually stands for is illness severity, P, patient summary, A, action list, S, situation awareness and contingency plan, and synthesis by the receiver. So this is the tool that the nurses would use when talking about a patient and including the patient. So step two, the nurses would watch the second part of this video, in which they would actually practice filling in that IPASS form, like maybe in a case study format, which I'll show you an example of. I wrote one here. Here again, you see the IPASS safety. I made a PowerPoint to show you. So here's a sample verbal hands-off. So I'm gonna pretend I'm the nurse, and I would be like, I is illness severity. So I would say, Jane is my sickest patient. Her oxygen has been down the whole shift. She is a full code. She is at 90% on 5 liter, thus showing the most serious problem that the patient is facing at that time. Then I would give the patient summary to the nurse, which would be as read here. It's pretty basic. You can read it. I don't, in the essence of time, I won't read that. And then there will be A for the action list. I will be telling the nurse, Nurse Karen, please perform a walk-in saturation in 30 minutes and inform the MD of the result. If the patient's temperature goes above 101, please give Tylenol. So I'm informing her of steps that she should follow during her shift to ensure patient safety, as well as the patient may also be involved in this process. It gives them the opportunity to ask questions like, hey, what is a walk-in saturation? What are you going to be doing? That gives them the opportunity to chime in if anything sounds incorrect or anything they want done. And then the situation awareness and contingency planning, which is the other S, is telling, like, for example, is telling her other steps she should take. If it goes below 90, the patient's oxygenation, you may want to inform the doctor, and that we may need to take other serious measures, such as start BiPAP or intubate the patient. And then S is very critical part of this, which is synthesis by the receiver. So what would happen is the other nurse, ongoing or off-coming shift, would be saying, okay, so I understand what you're saying. And Jane would say, the nurse would say, okay, so Jane is a 47-year-old female, COVID positive with pneumonia and fever, and I will do a walking sat in 30 minutes and inform MD. If temp goes above 101, give Tylenol. If respiratory status worsen, inform MD. So it's her basically summarizing that she understood everything that was presented to her in this hands-off. So as we move further along, they will also have a paper version of this tool. Some people can do it on the computerized version, which will have the EHR in the room, but we also have a print checklist. Some people still like to write stuff down. So if they feel more comfortable writing it down and not going directly from the computer, initially we can do it in that way. And then once again, I would do another formative assessment probably at this point to check their understanding of how to fill out this tool. Actually, I'm just going to show you a sample of the formative assessment I made. So here is one I made on Poll Everywhere. So this is the bedside formative assessment. I just made it quickly for 5 questions. And then, you would start. It basically says which mnemonic is used for bedside handoff. And they can pick, the answers. So several questions of this type. I'll just show you a few. So that would be the formative assessment piece and what it looks like. Um, and then another key point is after the education, we're going to bring some of this into the sim lab where the nurses will get the opportunity to practice with a patient, a mannequin patient, a real case scenario like how I presented earlier, and to gauge, we can decide, what needs improvement, what doesn't need improvement, anything they think they want to change about their learning as well could be included at that step of the process. And then and then after that, we can do after the presentation and learning is all done, we can do the presentation feedback, which I also actually included on Poll Everywhere. And it's just basic stuff like how would you rate the content, 1 to 5 scale, how would you rate the presenter, what you like most about this session. So it has several questions there. Then once this is actually done, we want to have educators and maybe even, excuse me, we may even want to include a nurse leader or champion in and to watch the nurses doing it, to roll out, to make sure they're comfortable and to provide support, and to ensure they don't go back to the nursing station. A lot of times you implement processes and then the nurses will, be against change and go back to the old ways, which is not really the best in this scenario. We want to ensure that they continue to utilize this new process for patient safety. And I kind of think that kind of sums it up. But once again, I just want to say in summary, the goal of this project is to move nurses away from the nursing station into the patient's room, including the patient, so that we can ensure safe communication and the use of the iPath handoff tool.